In the vast expanses of the Nevada desert, for over 4 decades, sightings of mysterious objects streaking across the sky often sparked rumors of extraterrestrial visitors. But more often than not, what witnesses glimpsed wasn't from another world, it was the ingenuity of an American mind at work. Clarence Leonard Kelly Johnson, born on the 27th of February 1910 and passing on the 21st of December 1990, stands as one of the most influential figures in U.S. aviation history. As the founder of Lockheed's legendary Skunk Works division, Johnson didn't just design aircraft. He redefined the boundaries of what's possible in engineering, creating machines that flew higher, faster, and more stealthily than anything before them. Johnson's legacy is etched into the fabric of American innovation, particularly during pivotal moments like World War II and the Cold War. He led the development of over 40 aircraft, many of which became icons of military and intelligence prowess. From the twin-boom P-38 Lightning that helped turn the tide in the Pacific Theater to the SR-71 Blackbird, which could outpace missiles at speeds exceeding Mach 3, his creations weren't mere vehicles, they were strategic game-changers. These planes provided the United States with unparalleled advantages in reconnaissance and combat, often operating under the veil of utmost secrecy. What set Johnson apart was his role not only as an aeronautical engineer but as a pioneer in systems engineering. This holistic approach integrated aerodynamics, materials science, propulsion, and even management principles to solve complex problems. Educated at the University of Michigan, where he earned both his bachelor's in 1932 and master's in 1,933 inches aeronautical engineering, Johnson brought a rigorous, interdisciplinary mindset to his work. His early experiences, including wind tunnel testing and stress analysis, laid the groundwork for innovations that pushed the envelope of physics itself. Recognized with prestigious honors such as 2 Collier trophies, the aviation world's equivalent of the Nobel Prize, the National Medal of Science in 1966, and the National Medal of Technology in 1989, Johnson was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2003. These accolades underscore his impact, but they only scratch the surface. At Skunk Works, which he established in 1943, Johnson fostered a culture of rapid prototyping and minimal bureaucracy, delivering prototypes in record time. This model influenced modern tech giants and defense contractors alike, proving that American ingenuity thrives when unencumbered by red tape. As we delve into Johnson's story, consider how his journey from a small-town Michigan kid to a titan of aerospace mirrors the American dream. In an era when the U.S. faced existential threats from global adversaries, Johnson's work ensured national security through technological superiority. His planes didn't just fly. They embodied the spirit of resilience and forward-thinking that defines American engineering. Today, as we grapple with new challenges in space exploration and hypersonic flight, Johnson's principles remain a blueprint for success. Let's explore the roots of this extraordinary man, starting with his humble beginnings and the education that shaped his visionary path. Clarence Leonard Johnson entered the world in the remote mining town of Ishpeming, Michigan, a place where harsh winters and economic hardship were everyday realities for immigrant families like his. Born to Swedish parents who had crossed the Atlantic in search of opportunity, young Clarence grew up in a modest household where resources were scarce, but determination was abundant. The family's struggles in the Upper Peninsula's iron ore country instilled in him a resilience that would define his career. From an early age, he displayed a sharp intellect and a no-nonsense attitude, traits that set him apart but also invited challenges. At school, bullies targeted him for his given name, Clarence, which they deemed too soft for the rugged environment. Rather than back down, he fought back fiercely, earning the nickname Kelly after a famous Irish brawler from a popular comic strip of the era. This moniker stuck for life, symbolizing his combative spirit and refusal to conform. Kelly's early years weren't just about survival. They sparked a fascination with mechanics and flight. As a boy, he tinkered with model airplanes and dreamed of soaring above the limitations of his surroundings. This passion led him to pursue higher education at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, a powerhouse for engineering programs. Enrolling in 1927, he worked odd jobs, including as a mechanic and dishwasher, to fund his studies, graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Aeronautical Engineering in 1932 and a Master of Science the following year. His time at Michigan was transformative, blending rigorous coursework in aerodynamics, structures, and propulsion with hands-on experience in the university's wind tunnels and labs. Unlike many peers who focused solely on theoretical designs, Johnson immersed himself in practical applications, learning to fabricate parts and test prototypes. This groundwork in what we now call systems engineering, integrating multiple disciplines to create functional wholes, differentiated him early on. His master's thesis on wind tunnel testing of aircraft models showcased an analytical mind capable of bridging theory and reality. Professors noted his arrogance, but it was backed by brilliance. He questioned assumptions and pushed for precision. These formative experiences honed his ability to spot flaws in designs and innovate under constraints, skills that would soon propel him into the heart of America's aviation industry. Transitioning from academia to the professional world, Johnson's entry into Lockheed Corporation marked the beginning of an era where his bold ideas would clash with established norms, setting the stage for breakthroughs that reshaped military aviation. Fresh out of graduate school, Kelly Johnson joined the Lockheed Corporation in Burbank, California, in 1933, at the tender age of 23. The aviation industry was still in its infancy, dominated by wooden biplanes and a conservative mindset among engineers. Lockheed, then a small player compared to giants like Boeing, was focused on commercial and military designs, but the Great Depression had tightened budgets and stifled innovation. Johnson started as a junior engineer in the tooling department, where he wasn't just drafting blueprints, he was hands-on with fabricating prototypes, designing specialized jigs and fixtures to assemble aircraft parts more efficiently. This practical immersion in manufacturing processes gave him an edge. He understood not only how to design on paper, but how to make those designs buildable in the real world, a skill that would prove invaluable in his later high-stakes projects. His breakthrough came almost immediately. Assigned to evaluate the wind tunnel model of the Lockheed Electra, a twin-engine airliner intended for commercial service, Johnson didn't hesitate to voice his concerns. The senior designers had overlooked stability issues in the tail configuration, which could lead to dangerous vibrations or loss of control. Boldly declaring the design unstable and essentially flawed, he faced backlash from veterans who saw him as an upstart. Yet, backed by his calculations from Michigan's wind tunnels, Johnson proposed modifications to the vertical stabilizers and control surfaces. Lockheed's leadership, impressed by his data-driven critique, implemented his fixes. The revised Electra not only flew successfully but became a bestseller, powering airlines like Northwest and Pan American through the 1,930 seconds. This episode highlighted Johnson's leadership style, unyielding confidence tempered by empirical evidence, teaching his colleagues the value of challenging authority when science demanded it. By 1937, with war clouds gathering over Europe, Johnson's reputation had grown enough to lead major projects. At just 27, he took charge of the Lockheed Hudson, a maritime patrol bomber adapted from the Electra's airframe, incorporating advanced features like retractable landing gear and a bombardier's nose turret. The Hudson was delivered to the British Royal Air Force in record time, playing a crucial role in anti-submarine warfare during the early days of World War II. Over 2,900 units were produced, showcasing Johnson's ability to scale designs for mass production while integrating new technologies like radar integration precursors. The pinnacle of his pre-war work was the P-38 Lightning, commissioned by the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1937 for a high-altitude interceptor capable of 360 miles per hour and rapid climbs. Conventional single-engine fighters couldn't meet the specs, so Johnson innovated with a twin-boom configuration, a central pod for the pilot and armament, flanked by two Allison engines with turbo superchargers. Critics derided its unconventional look as a fork-tailed devil, but the P-38 seconds performance silenced them, becoming the first American fighter to exceed 400 miles per hour in level flight. Early tests revealed a deadly issue: compressibility, where shockwaves at near-sonic speeds locked the controls, causing fatal dives. Drawing on his systems engineering background, Johnson devised dive recovery flaps, simple hinged panels that disrupted airflow and restored control. This fix saved countless lives and solidified the P-38 seconds role in the Pacific, where it famously downed Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's plane in 1943 under strict radio silence. These early triumphs weren't without personal cost. Johnson's demanding nature often clashed with bureaucracy, but they forged his philosophy of minimal interference and maximum accountability. As World War II intensified, this mindset would evolve into something revolutionary: a dedicated Skunk Works operation that bypassed traditional hierarchies to deliver miracles under pressure. As World War II raged on, the U.S. military faced an escalating threat from Germany's jet-powered aircraft, like the Messerschmitt Me 262, which outmatched Allied piston-engine fighters in speed and agility. In 1943, the Army Air Forces turned to Lockheed with an urgent demand: develop America's first operational jet fighter prototype in a time frame that defied industry standards. Conventional development cycles spanned years, bogged down by layers of oversight and procurement hurdles. Johnson, now a rising star at Lockheed, proposed a radical alternative. He committed to delivering the XP-80 Shooting Star in just 180 days, but only under one condition: complete autonomy. No routine inspections, no endless paperwork, and full control over his team and resources. The generals, desperate amid wartime pressures, agreed. With Lockheed's main facilities tied up in bomber production, Johnson improvised a makeshift operation. He secured a rented circus tent adjacent to a foul-smelling plastics factory in Burbank, where the acrid fumes of melting polymers permeated the air. Engineers donned gas masks to endure the stench, and one quipped Skunk Works while answering a phone, referencing a bootleg distillery from the Lil Abner comic strip. The name caught on, symbolizing the outfit's unconventional, no-frills ethos. Johnson hand-selected a lean team of 23 engineers and 30 shop mechanics, the cream of Lockheed's talent pool, emphasizing expertise over hierarchy. At the core of this venture were Johnson's 14 rules of management, a manifesto distilled from his experiences in tooling and design. These guidelines weren't abstract theories. They were battle-tested principles for accelerating innovation. Rule 1 mandated a small, elite team with mutual trust between contractor and military, minimizing meddling. Rule 3 limited paperwork to essentials, slashing bureaucratic drag. Rule 12 emphasized absolute secrecy, restricting outsider access to prevent leaks. Rule 13 called for informal progress reports, fostering agility over formality. And Rule 14 stressed rewarding performance with incentives, motivating the crew through shared success. This framework transformed Skunk Works into a model of efficiency, where decisions flowed quickly and accountability was paramount. For instance, Johnson's background in tooling allowed him to integrate custom fabrication techniques, like rapid prototyping of engine mounts, directly into the workflow, cutting weeks from traditional timelines. Working grueling 10-hour days, 6 days a week, the team relied on slide rules, wind tunnel data, and sheer intuition, without the luxury of computers. The British de Havilland Goblin engine arrived late, on day 130, but Johnson's meticulous planning kept them ahead. By day 1, 7 days early, the XP-80 rolled out to a dry lake bed for testing. Its sleek fuselage and swept wings screamed into the sky, marking the dawn of U.S. jet aviation. The military rushed it into production as the P-80. Though the war ended before widespread combat deployment, Skunk Works wasn't just a temporary fix. It became an enduring paradigm for defense innovation, later influencing successors like Ben Rich, who applied its principles to stealth technology. Johnson's rules challenged the status quo, proving that American engineering excellence could flourish in isolation from red tape. This approach would prove even more vital as the Cold War dawned, demanding aircraft that didn't just compete but dominated through unprecedented altitude and speed. With the end of World War II in 1945, the geopolitical landscape shifted dramatically, ushering in the Cold War, a tense standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union, marked by ideological clashes, nuclear arms races, and espionage. America's intelligence community, particularly the newly formed CIA in 1947, grappled with a critical blind spot: limited visibility into Soviet military capabilities. The USSR's successful atomic bomb test in 1949 heightened fears of hidden missile sites and bomber fleets. Traditional reconnaissance methods, like ground agents or low-altitude flights, risked provoking outright conflict. Enter Kelly Johnson, whose Skunk Works was poised to address this through aerial innovation that prioritized evasion over confrontation. The first major Cold War assignment came in 1954, when the CIA sought a high-altitude spy plane capable of operating at 70,000 feet, twice the cruising height of contemporary airliners, where Soviet radars and interceptors would struggle to detect or engage it. Conventional Air Force designs fell short, deeming the thin atmosphere unworkable for sustained flight. Johnson, applying his systems engineering expertise, reimagined the platform by fusing a lightweight fighter fuselage with expansive, glider-like wings spanning 80 feet. Dubbed the U-2 Dragon Lady, this aircraft sacrificed robustness for altitude: no armor, no ejection seat, and detachable pogo landing gear that dropped away during takeoff, leaving pilots to perform precarious belly landings on a central skid. To integrate advanced cameras from Hicon Corporation, Johnson coordinated multidisciplinary teams, ensuring the plane's structure could house massive optics without compromising aerodynamics. Testing required utmost secrecy, leading Johnson to scout Groom Lake in Nevada's remote nuclear test site, a flat, isolated expanse he playfully nicknamed Paradise Ranch to lure workers. This became Area 51, a hub for classified aviation that Johnson helped develop from scratch, including runways and hangars. The U-2's maiden flight in 1955 proved its prowess, ascending to heights where pilots donned pressure suits to prevent blood boiling in case of cabin failure. For 4 years, it conducted overflights of Soviet territory, capturing invaluable imagery of ICBM silos and naval bases. Soviet MiG fighters stalled out miles below, and early surface-to-air missiles lacked the range. However, on the 1st of May 1960, pilot Francis Gary Powers' U-2 was felled by a barrage of SA-2 missiles over Sverdlovsk, triggering an international crisis and exposing the program's vulnerabilities as radar technology advanced. Undeterred, Johnson pivoted to speed as the new frontier. In 1958, even before the Powers incident, he began conceptualizing the A-12 Oxcart for the CIA, a precursor to the SR-71 Blackbird that would cruise at Mach 3, over 2,000 miles per hour, rendering it untouchable by turning pursuit into a futile chase. Aluminum airframes melted at such velocities due to frictional heat exceeding 500 degrees Fahrenheit, so Johnson turned to titanium, a metal prized for its strength-to-weight ratio and heat resistance. Sourcing proved ironic. The U.S. lacked domestic supplies, prompting the CIA to establish shell companies that covertly imported titanium from the Soviet Union itself, using the enemy's resources against them. Johnson's systems approach shone here as he oversaw the invention of new welding techniques and hydraulic presses in the tooling department to handle the brittle material. The resulting SR-71, operational by 1966, featured a dagger-shaped profile with chines for stability and J-58 engines that transitioned to ramjet mode at high speeds. It leaked fuel on the ground due to expansion gaps in its panels, which sealed only in flight, a deliberate design to prevent structural failure. Pilots, clad in full pressure suits akin to astronauts, could outrun surface-to-air missiles simply by accelerating as the threats exhausted their fuel mid-pursuit. Over 3,500 missions during its service life provided real-time intelligence, from Vietnam battlefields to Middle Eastern hotspots, without a single combat loss. Amid these spy plane triumphs, Johnson also advanced fighter technology with the F-104 Starfighter, introduced in 1954 as the first production aircraft to sustain Mach 2 speeds. Its razor-thin wings and tail configuration emphasized climb rate and velocity, making it a staple for U.S. Air Force squadrons and NATO allies like Germany and Italy. In Vietnam, Phone 104 Seconds conducted ground attack roles, integrating early radar-guided missiles that foreshadowed modern smart weapons. This project exemplified Johnson's knack for embedding cutting-edge avionics and weaponry into compact frames, enhancing NATO's deterrence posture. These endeavors underscored the Skunk Works' adaptability, but they also revealed the human toll of Johnson's relentless drive, a theme that permeated his leadership and tested the limits of his teams. Kelly Johnson's ascent at Lockheed wasn't solely due to his technical genius. It was equally fueled by a leadership style that blended iron-fisted discipline with fierce loyalty to his team. He ran Skunk Works like a high-stakes startup, demanding excellence while shielding his engineers from external pressures that could stifle creativity. This approach stemmed from his early days in the tooling department, where he learned that true innovation required not just brilliant ideas, but also the tools and environment to execute them swiftly. Johnson often personally mentored young engineers, drawing on his University of Michigan background to teach hands-on skills like custom jig design and material stress testing. He believed in cross-training, ensuring team members could pivot between design, fabrication, and testing, a precursor to modern agile methodologies in aerospace. Yet, his methods were notoriously tough. Johnson had zero tolerance for mediocrity or excuses, famously employing the nickel tour as a swift corrective measure. If an engineer erred significantly, say, overlooking a structural flaw in a prototype, he'd toss a nickel on their desk and instruct them to call home with news of their firing. This wasn't mere theatrics. It enforced accountability in an era when lives depended on flawless aircraft. Despite the brutality, his team revered him, knowing he applied the same standards to himself. Johnson was known to work alongside them, sweeping floors or troubleshooting rivets late into the night, embodying the American work ethic of leading from the front. A key pillar of his leadership was battling bureaucracy, which he viewed as the enemy of progress. During the SR-71's development, when Air Force officials attempted to micromanage design specs, Johnson didn't hesitate to eject them from meetings, arguing that excessive oversight bloated timelines and diluted focus. He once threatened to resign if budget cuts compromised safety, leveraging his indispensable status to protect resources. This protective stance extended to suppliers and contractors. He cultivated direct relationships, bypassing red tape to expedite parts delivery. His 14 rules formalized this anti-bureaucratic ethos, prioritizing trust and efficiency over endless approvals, a model that contrasted sharply with the slower, committee-driven processes at competitors like Boeing. Challenges abounded, both technical and human. The exotic materials and extreme performance demands of projects like the F-104 pushed teams to their limits, with failures in early titanium welding leading to costly redesigns. Johnson addressed these by fostering a culture of rapid iteration, where mistakes were learning opportunities rather than career enders provided they weren't repeated. Personally, the relentless pace took a toll. Friends noted his cigar-chewing habits as a stress reliever amid sleepless nights solving compressibility issues or fuel leakage problems. As the 1,970 seconds approached, Johnson recognized shifting threats. Advancing Soviet radars and missiles demanded not just speed but invisibility. Before retiring in 1975, he laid foundational work for stealth technology, collaborating with mathematician Bill Schroeder on radar-absorbing shapes that influenced the Have-Blue prototype. He passed the baton to his protégé, Ben Rich, ensuring Skunk Works' DNA secrecy, speed, and audacity endured. Johnson's style, though demanding, produced results that safeguarded American interests, proving that effective leadership in engineering often means balancing rigor with empowerment. Kelly Johnson's retirement in 1975 marked the end of an era at Lockheed, but his influence on American aerospace engineering continues to resonate deeply. By that point, he had overseen the design and development of more than 40 aircraft, each pushing the frontiers of technology and strategy. His accolades were as impressive as his creations. He earned the Collier Trophy twice, first in 1954 for the F-104 Starfighter and again in 1964 for the SR-71 Blackbird, along with the National Medal of Science in 1966, the National Medal of Technology in 1989, and posthumous induction into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2003. Presidents from Eisenhower to Reagan sought his counsel on national security matters, recognizing his unique blend of technical prowess and pragmatic leadership. In his later years, Johnson grew disillusioned with the aviation industry's growing bureaucracy, which he believed hampered the kind of bold innovation he championed. He watched as development timelines ballooned from months to decades, a stark contrast to his 143-day jet prototype. Yet, even in retirement, his foundational work on stealth concepts paved the way for future Skunk Works projects, like the F-117 Nighthawk under Ben Rich. The division he built remains a cornerstone of U.S. defense, applying his principles to modern endeavors such as hypersonic vehicles and unmanned drones programs that echo his emphasis on systems integration and rapid iteration. Johnson passed away on the 21st of December 1990, the same year the SR-71 Blackbird was officially retired from service. On its final flight, the aircraft shattered records once more, crossing from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in just 64 minutes, a testament to enduring engineering excellence. Today, visitors to the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum can stand beneath the Blackbird's titanium skin, marveling at its heat-rippled panels and fuel seepage marks, artifacts of a machine that wasn't born from science fiction or alien tech, but from the relentless drive of a poor Michigan boy armed with a slide rule and unyielding resolve. Johnson's story offers timeless lessons for contemporary America, where innovation in fields like AI, space travel, and renewable energy faces similar bureaucratic hurdles. His mantra, "Be quick, be quiet, be on time," reminds us that true progress stems from trusting small, empowered teams to tackle the impossible. In an age of global competition, embracing his model could reignite the spirit that once made U.S. engineering the envy of the world, ensuring we continue building not just machines, but a bolder future.